today we have a new Instagram. Oh my gosh. I actually like this new platform. Today on Black Table Topics, we're going to talk about hurt men. And this is going to be the first part of a two-part series. The first time I went into a satanic ritual, it was scary. And it was really scary because I didn't know what to expect. And I wasn't ready to walk into what is called that power, okay? And the first time I went to a satanic ritual, I'm not going to tell you what it actually was. But I had heard so many bad things about Satanists and devil worshippers and Luciferianism. And I'm the type of person that when it comes to your kids, it's better to prepare them for things, including different religions. So one person, they probably wouldn't teach a child about Satanism. I'd be like, if you're old enough to know, then you're old enough to learn, okay? But you have different types of Satanists. And how I actually ended up coming to know Satanism is when I first started going to Relevant Church. I ran across a Satanist. And at that time, I'm not going to say in my wilding out stage, but I was more like in my, this is, badass stage, you know what I'm saying? But I was coming out of that wilding out stage. And one of the things that I learned was you don't judge a book by its cover. So, I'm not going to say this Satanist name, and we'll talk more about that another day, but it won't be doing Black Topic Live. One of these Satanist names, I'm not going to say, but what happened was I was kind of doing too much in church, right? Remember when I told you about, I had to talk with a pastor and things like that, right? And, sometimes when you judge a book by its cover, you really don't know what you're encountering, Like, a person looks at me and does not know that I used to be part of a cleanup crew for a cartel. So in other words, that meant when someone was unalived by the cartel, I would go into a room and clean it up as if nothing happened in the room. Never participated in unaliving somebody. Shout out to the person who was at the live, but I actually used to go and clean up behind them, okay? And we'll talk about more about that life. Another video. Because I don't feel like getting into some gruesome stuff right now. But it's a lot that I learned from cartels and a lot that I learned from Satanists. And so this dude, he came in and he approached me and he told me his name. And then we started talking. I'm not saying that we started talking about Satanism like the first day. But I'm saying we would just chill, make small talk sometimes, and it got to the point we eventually started seeing each other at a bus stop. So, we would go from talking about church to, he finally trusted me enough to start talking to me about how he became a Christian. And then he would say, I'm really not a Christian, but, I'm starting to learn the Lord. And I understood what he was saying. So we started talking about Satanism on a deep level. And he was telling me, he said, he was telling me the difference between Luciferianism, devil worshiping, and Satanism, right? And he was telling me how a lot of people think that just because you worship the devil or you're a Satanist, that you act like an idiot. Or you just act like a wild animal. And he was like, unless they're newly recruited, you're not supposed to be like that. That's why your whole goal in life is you want to act like no one can pick you up in a lineup and know the difference. Okay? And we're not talking about don't wear your tattoos. No, you can wear your tattoos that represent you. Okay? But he was just like, he was telling me about the Satanic Bible. He was like, most people don't even know that we have our own Bible. And he said, you see how I went to church? He said, if you're a true Satanist, you can't be scared to go to church. He said, you see how I conduct myself in church? He said, you don't act like, he was like, some people when they go to a Christian church, they want to start cussing out everybody in the temple or saying dumb stuff during the worship service, and this is why they have to be ushered out. He said, to be honest with you, they're embarrassment to Satanist people. He said they're embarrassment because he said if they're newly recruits, Satanists teach their people how to behave. After a while, he was like, that's part of being a Satanist. They teach you how to assimilate in normal society. And so he was like, sometimes, he was like, when a person does something inhumane, that's not Satanism. That's not being a devil worshiper. He was like, that's a person who is just crazy. He said, that has nothing to do with Satanism. That don't have nothing to do with devil worshiping. You just do something inhumane, that's a crazy person. Okay, that's a crazy person for some reason gets compared to devil worshippers or Satanists all the time. And they're like, no, we don't act like that. We don't act like the big bad monster. Don't judge. Hey, what's up, Gary? You said don't judge someone by their current situation, but even black coal turns into shiny diamonds. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that is true. It does. People don't know about that. But he was telling me that when you are Satanist, real Satanist, you can't really tell they're Satanists. It was like, you see how you was at church and you started gravitating to me and you started talking to me and you didn't even know that's my actual religion. But he was like, each religion has a different passage. And I'm not gonna get deep into explaining Satanism, but he basically invited me to a ritual, okay? And when I went to one of the ceremonies, I was tripping because they were playing music like you would in a church. Like, I know it was a church, but I'm thinking I'm about to hear some da-da-da or some screaming or something like that, right? No, it was like, they would play music in keys that you would hear if you went to a Hillsong church or a church with Greg Laurie. And I was like, what? I was tripping off on that. And then of course you'll hear the chant like, man, I gotta get into a certain mode, and I don't feel like getting into that mode. But they would chant, okay? So they'll play the music, and then sometimes they would start chanting after a while. And they would start conjuring up this power, okay? And I knew once the power started getting conjured up, that it was, can you hear me better now? I knew once the spirit started getting conjured up, it wasn't the Holy Spirit. It was a way different spirit you started getting chills up your spine. Okay? It kind of felt cold. It didn't feel warm. You know how if any of you guys who have ever felt the actual Holy Spirit, it feels like warm and sunshiny to me. Okay, everybody else is different. But when they conjured up this spirit, it started feeling cold and uncomfortable. Okay? And, you know, this particular day, it was something that was involving children. I'm not going to say what it was. I'm not going to explain to you. What I'm saying this day, it involved children. Okay? And it wasn't a sexual ritual, because the Satanist is not going to invite you to a ceremony the first day to a sexual ritual and he doesn't know you. But it was the first time I saw that a kid could be hypnotized. It's like they put the kid in a trance. And of course they didn't tell him to do something stupid, but it was just like, I was like, God, duh. Y'all can actually do that to some kids? Like, I mean, literally, it's like these kids were under a spell. They put them in a trance. And they would talk to them in this weird voice and command them to do things, okay? Now, I don't have, you know, an actual satanic Bible. I don't really follow that religion. But like literally people will talk like this. And this is no lie. Are you really for Satan? Are you a true follower of Satan? Do you love Satan? Like, I'm giving you like 3 examples. And I was like thrown back that they would be talking. It's okay, if you understand what I don't know what it is, but I don't care what religion. For some reason, people get a deep voice. Maybe I just been around a bunch of people with a deep voice, but I'm saying, it's like when you read or when you're talking about something with religion, they get a deep voice or something when they read, right? But for some reason, they were like hypnotized. You know what I'm saying? And that was the first time that I seen somebody get hypnotized like that. I'm doing a podcast. Hold on, guys. Come in. It was the first time that somebody got hypnotized like that. It was like they were speaking in a song. And I have never in my life seen kids hypnotized before. Never seen kids hypnotized before. But it is possible to hypnotize a child. And, I'm thinking, when I seen the kids, I'm thinking they're about to sacrifice a child or something like that in front of me. No. It's like once the ceremony was over with, the kids were okay, and they had kids. So I asked the Satanist, I said, how do people who are Satanists raise their kids? He said, first of all, people who are abusive to their kids, that has nothing to do with Satanism. That has nothing to do with devil worship. That has nothing to do with Luciferianism. That has to do with that person is just crazy. And I was like, what? He was like, trust me. He was like, when I was younger, I got disciplined just like you got disciplined when you were young. You have Satanists who don't spank their kids. You have Satanists that do spank their kids. But to say that a person abuses their kids because they're Satanists, no, they don't. A Satanist who raises their kids the same way that a Christian would. The only difference is based upon their beliefs. That's the only difference. Like, one person opens the Bible and the other person opens the Satanic Bible. We go to McDonald's just like you do. We cook food just like you do. We do it all. There's no difference. We hug our kids just like you do. Like, what makes you think because a person is a Satanist that they don't hug their kids? What makes you think because a person is a Satanist that, we don't take our kids to the movies? Like, they're just like you. And there's no difference. The only difference is what we believe. So I was like, wow. He taught me a lot. Don't judge a book by its cover. Now, if I was to describe what this dude looked like, he really didn't have no visible tattoos that indicated that he was a Satanist. He didn't have no weird black hair. His hair was like reddish brown. It was well cut. He dressed like some dude that went to a nice Ivy League school. Would have never thought for a million years that this dude was a Satanist. And he's not the only Satanist that I've ever met. He's not the only devil worshiper I've ever met. I live in an area that's known for that stuff. So every once in a while you run across them. But he was like, there's no difference. He was like, if a person abuses their child, whether you're Christian, Buddhist, Satanist, they're crazy. That has nothing to do with what they worship. Everybody don't need to have kids. Some people desire kids and they get kids and they don't appreciate what they have. But some people just don't need kids. And unfortunately, there are some people who just, they just keep getting their hands on some kids and they don't know how to raise kids. I'm gonna keep it 100. Like, really, I'll be like, I would hate to be your kid. I'm just keep it 100. I hate to be your damn kid. But it was nice to know that a person who was a Satanist was just, they were just like us. Couldn't tell the difference. Unless they have the obvious signs where they dressing all black or dye their hair all red and wear all black. Couldn't tell the difference. So let's go to the next one. One time I met a witch. And I actually met her at work. That was crazy when I met her. Dude, I thought I looked innocent. This dude looked like... Have you ever seen Jennifer Aniston? This person looked like Jennifer Aniston, but was not like Jennifer Aniston from the show Friends. If you never saw the show Friends was a show that was big back in the 2000s. Everybody, man, I think people were snitching on themselves. Like, man, Friends was one of those type of shows that, dude, you go up to a black person from the hood, be like, hey, bro, tell the truth. You ever see the show Friends? And they be like, heck yeah, man, that show is off the chain, man. I'll be watching that all the time. Yeah, that's how good Friends was. It's like, man, you didn't really want to tell on yourself, but dude, even people in the hood was watching Friends. That's how good it was, dude. Everybody knew Statler and Janine. You know, I ain't gonna go down the list of characters, but y'all know who I'm talking about. So anyway, this female, she was like Jennifer Aniston, right? And Jennifer Aniston is one of those females, she looked like the everyday girl next door. She looked like she could do no wrong. You know you be bringing home a 4.0 every semester. That's what she looked like, right? So, I don't know what it was about her, but after getting to know her, I started picking up this weird vibe from her. It was a weird vibe. And when I picked up this weird vibe from her, she would be really cool, really calm, very helpful. And I mean, even if you ask her, like, man, what are we gonna eat for lunch? Okay, back then we didn't have DoorDash. But you'd be like, what am I gonna eat for lunch? And it's like, you'll be sitting up there like, what? And it's like, she'll be like, oh, don't worry, I'll go get your food. I'll go get your food. So one day she went and got some fast food. And I'm not gonna say what popular food chain this was, but one of my coworkers was like, my drink tastes funny. I'm like, what you talking about your drink tastes funny? I'm like, she go get the food all the time. He was like, no, my drink tastes funny. So we happen to have the same type of drink. Let's say it was Coca-Cola. So when the dude was like, his drink tastes funny, I was like, cool, you can have mine. So he takes mine. He was like, you got the same drink as me. Your drink tastes like Coca-Cola. My drink don't taste like Coca-Cola. And he was like, I don't know what it is, but he was like, man, I think somebody spiked my drink. Dude, he ended up having to quit the job because he was like, man, I don't know what's wrong with that woman, but I'm telling you, something's wrong with that woman. Now, you wouldn't like think that a person who looked like Jennifer Aniston is a person that practiced witchcraft, okay? Another person had ate some food. And the food that they ate, it was some food that, unfortunately, that was the first time that I learned a person can curse your food. And I don't know what this person put in the food. I didn't touch it. And the only reason why I didn't touch the food, I was like, I'm not eating nothing from somebody who got cats. Okay? I don't hate cats. I don't have a problem with people who have cats. But I'm saying, when a person has cats and they live in a certain environment, they don't always, in other words, you know how you keep a dog outside in the yard? They like to let the cat run all over the house, okay? And sometimes cat hairs will get into your food. And they'll come and bring some food to a potluck, and you'll be like, what is this? And it'll be like it'll be a cat hair, okay? I don't like that stuff, okay? I don't like that stuff. And so when I saw that person that cooked it, I was like, I'm not eating that. Dude, a couple weeks go by. People is complaining of having parasitic symptoms. In other words, they like something feels like it's crawling in my body. A couple people say they got parasites and they think they got it from this person. I'm like, wow. I'm thinking like, what the heck? I was like, did she put some parasites in the food? And then that's when somebody was like, nah, that woman is a witch. I'm almost positive that woman is a witch. Cause she always be doing stuff to our food. And he was saying, my grandmother used to tell me, don't accept no food from strangers. I don't care how much they try to put a guilt trip on you. Don't accept no food, because people will put stuff in your food. And even though she looked like somebody that you could trust with your food, she ain't getting my food no more. I was like, wow. But he was like, I'm telling you, she's putting stuff in our food. She's putting curses and practicing witchcraft using our food. I was like, wow. Lo and behold, one day we was talking, and I don't know what made us get on the subject, but I was just like, yeah, when I was in college, man, I used to play with the Ouija board. And I asked her, I said, you ever play with the Ouija board? And she started opening up to me. And this is when she started talking about witchcraft. And she was like, most people don't know I'm a witch because they say I look so innocent. And she was like, I've been a witch since I was in high school. But she was like, I don't know why people don't know that I'm a witch. I was like, wow. I'm thinking in my head, what everybody was saying when they said that she was putting, curses by using stuff in their food. When she said she practiced witchcraft, understand, I didn't go running to all the employees talking about, hey dog, she is a witch. She told me she was a witch. No, I actually, surprisingly to her, I didn't tell nobody. I was like, that's between you and other people. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I was always that type of person. But I knew after she told me she was a witch and she practiced Wicca, I was like, nope, not no more. Not no more. One of the things that I have discovered is you can tell when a person is, I'm not gonna say crazy, I'm gonna say suspect. Because sometimes I've had a job that I learned a lot about autistic people. And I'm not saying every autistic person is like this, okay? Like I said, I've been tested before. People thought I was autistic. People always want to put a label, and especially when you are a person of color, they really want to put a label over you. If they can put an ADHD or you're autistic and you're a black person, they would love to put as many labels as they can so that they can control you. Okay? If you don't understand, yesterday was Juneteenth, yeah, that's a holiday. All right, so with that being said, some people who are autistic, they act out stuff. So when you see a person, sometimes they write stories or they act out scenes or they watch a movie and start playing the parts in the movies or rewriting a movie while they're watching a movie. Sometimes they might be autistic and not crazy, okay? But for some reason, I'm like, dude, how do you not know that I do a live? Like, do I not sound like I'm talking on the microphone? Like, is it just me, or do I not sound like I'm talking on the microphone? Okay? And I'm gonna give an example of what I'm talking about. There's an African man that lives with me, right? On my property, not in my room, okay? And there's a question that he asked me. He said, I'm gonna show you that sometimes your visions are real. Dude has a deep voice. And I'm not gonna get deep into it because some of that stuff I'm gonna save for Saturday. But one of the questions that he asked me when we saw each other for the first time last week, and he spoke to me, he was like, when you saw me, was I the man that you described on the live? And I was like, yeah, you look like a god. You sound like a god. And usually people who sound like that, he actually has a voice of a king. Like a lot of times when people say, you sound like God, amen, that voice of a king. A lot of kings have deep, strong voices like a lion. You know what I'm saying? But he looked just like I described. Like when you see this dude, he looks like he is a king. He looks like a god. Like really. So when I saw him for the first time, it was a weird type of, I saw him, but he looked exactly like I described. Like exactly how I described on the line. So yeah, I'm not gonna get deep into the African man, but you know, like I said, I'm gonna answer his questions on Saturday. But one of the things that, you know, you notice that you can tell what a person says about you, put it that way. Like a person who speaks behind my back who says I talk to myself. What makes you think I talk to myself? Like who said I talk to myself? Maybe that person who said I talk to myself talks to their self. Like really, I have seen that. There are people who there's actually therapy. It's called where you make videos on your phone. Okay, some people have a diary that they write in, and some people they actually speak into the camera on their phone. Okay. I'm sure all you guys who are on social media right now, you can look at my video later and notice that I'm doing a live, right? But sometimes I use my phone for, if I say these are my thoughts, I use the camera. But most of the time, I'm talking on the live, okay? Now, if you're talking into a camera, okay, I'm gonna let you know now. If you're talking into a recording or you're talking into your camera on the phone and recording, even though you're talking on the camera, you are not talking to yourself, okay? But some people talk to themselves, okay? And it's kind of hard because even when a person is pretty, a lot of people don't think that a person who is pretty could be crazy. Yes, they can. So if you witness that person talking to themselves, that doesn't mean that everybody else is talking to themselves when they use the camera. I actually get paid to do this. They might not get paid to do this. This is my job. So unfortunately, I don't like to be interrupted when I'm doing a live because you're messing with my money. And that's not, understand, that's not an attack to anybody, but I'm just saying, if you hear me on the mic, I'm probably doing a lot. And if you are around somebody who talks to themselves, I'm saying I've been doing podcasting for a year. I started getting paid 3 months ago for podcasting. So this is how I earn passive income. Okay? So what I do, I take seriously. What that person does, they're dealing with their mental health. Okay, or they're using that as a coping mechanism for their mental health. You know what I'm saying? And I don't like when a man feels the need to disrespect me on that level. Don't disrespect me. I'm not a child. In other words, sometimes when people say that you're crazy, they treat you like a child. I'm not a child, so don't treat me like that. I am almost 50 years old. I'm old enough to be a lot of men in this house, grandma. I'm not senile either, but don't disrespect me. I don't disrespect you, don't disrespect me. Even if somebody does say I'm crazy, they're probably crazy too, whether you accept it or not. I don't have a problem with people talking to themselves. I just don't like to be around people that I have to sleep with one eye open because they lack control of their flesh. I don't like people like that. You know what I'm saying? But for some reason, when a person who has schizophrenia or personality disorder or autism, okay, has a phone, it's something that soothes them when they talk into the camera. Okay, that's something I learned. I know for me, one of my therapies is drawing art or making music or using my camera to make videos. Okay, so that's why sometimes on YouTube or other social medias like TikTok and IG, you'll see a lot of videos with people who battle mental health issues. They do podcasts or they do self-help videos or, you know, just something they talk about their mental health. That's actually a form of therapy. Okay, the reason why they do that, if you're not a psychiatrist, you don't know. If you're not a therapist, you don't know. But the reason why I don't draw in the open is because even though that's part of my therapy plan to draw, I don't want somebody saying, oh, you're only drawing pictures because so-and-so is drawing pictures. No, I'm not. What is you talking about? Most people don't even know I can draw. I'm sure some of my kids can draw. But some people don't know that I can know how to draw. Drawing is also good if you have anger issues. Using the camera is also good if you have anger issues, like I battle with. You know what I'm saying? Because the therapist says it's better to speak into the camera and just get your anger out than to go and get into a fight with somebody. So actually, the camera is really cool, okay? That's why sometimes when you run across men who have anger issues, they like to be around a bunch of men and they start talking because really they want to be on camera. That's why they're good at telling stories. Like, you know, it's not like a lot of people who have, not everybody, but a lot of people who have anger issues, they they like to tell a lot of stories. Like for me, you could tell when I speak that I don't talk to a lot of people. You could just tell by the way I speak. I don't talk to a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why they tested me for autism is because of that. I don't talk to a lot of people. You know? But I'm not autistic. But there are 2 people in my lifetime who believe I'm on the spectrum. But I actually took tests in this state and another state to see if I was autistic as an adult. And one of the things that the therapist said is they was like, I don't know, when I speak, you can just kind of tell I haven't been socialized. And I said, I don't know, because people always say something stupid. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm just one of those people that people love to gossip about. It's been like that since I was a kid, so it don't bother me no more. I was like, you say whatever you want to talk about. I really don't care. You can say I'm crazy, but I say, you know what? Who are you getting that from? Another crazy person who you believe is not crazy? And if you're crazy, you're crazy. I don't even like to say you're crazy. I say you battle with mental health. I don't like to say that a person is crazy. Another thing, the reason why they thought I was on the spectrum is because I don't like to make eye contact with people. So they was like, and they said because I sound like a child. I was like, I can't help that I sound like a child. They was like, no, you sound like a child. Not act like a child. I just sound like a child. You know what I'm saying? They were like, talking to you is like we used to have talks like this. They said sometimes you have trouble with other people because you sound like a child. So because you don't talk in a deep voice like this, if a man talks in a deep voice like that, you see authority. If a woman talks in a certain voice, you see authority. But even though I see you are of age, you talk like a little kid. And so because you talk like a little kid, people treat you like a little kid even though you're not a little kid. So a person, just think, if a man had a high-pitched voice and he's trying to command authority, he's probably gonna have to depend on his fighting skills. Because most men are not going to respect him if he has a high-pitched voice. In other words, if you talk like Michael Jackson, and I can't help that my dad had that voice, so I'm always had his voice. But if you talk like Michael Jackson, people used to think that, Michael Jackson couldn't fight. And when they heard that he beat Tupac's ass, no, they didn't get into an argument. He handed Tupac his ass. Okay? They was like, man, Mike got hands like that? Yeah. But because he had a high-pitched voice, people did not respect him. And he would run into problems about his masculinity. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't talk like a regular man, I guess people think that you're not a man. If you talk like a little kid, then people think, oh, you're not an adult. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that was one of the reasons why people thought I was autistic. But I got tested and 2 states no, I'm not autistic. But like I said, they do believe that I'm on the spectrum. But again, I don't let people put labels. Because so far, other than 2 people who suggested, and I'm I'm gonna go through a test that somebody from Stanford had gave me. They asked me, do you learn better with pictures or do you like to read words? And I said, I have a photographic memory. I learn better with pictures. They were like, are you into like colors? Like, does colors amaze you? I was like, yeah, I like art. I like, the way clothes look, certain colors that I gravitate to. And they would ask me other stuff. They were like, when you go somewhere, do you remember how to get there by a street? Or do you rely on your memory? And I was like, oh yeah, once I get someplace, I usually remember how to get there the next time without even having to looking at, a map. And I said, really, I don't like to look at maps because they're more confusing to me than if I just look at Google View. And so this person from Stanford, they explained to me what being on the spectrum is. Being autistic on the spectrum, that means you're above high functioning, okay? When you're high functioning, that means you're autistic and can support yourself. That's what high functioning is, okay? And then you have autism on other levels. But, they explained to me the difference between high functioning and low functioning. And so when they asked me, they were like, when a person is autistic on the spectrum, a lot of people can't tell unless you know about autism. So, like for instance, imagine an autistic person is in the room with you. And you're sitting in a room. And then you got somebody who they're in special education, even though an autistic person would sometimes be in special education. But they say you have a person who is in special education. And they're in what you call behavior classes, okay? And then there's you. They say, so if you took the 3, they would think that you're normal and would lecture you about an autistic person. And then they would say, it's not that you act immature, but the person asked me from Stanford, they were like, do people tell you to grow up a lot? They was like, not that you act immature, but they said, do people say to you a lot, you need to grow up? There was like, a lot of times when a person is on a spectrum, they get that a lot. In other words, there's something that's childlike about you. And they were just like, if you're autistic on the spectrum, you can't do anything about that. And ignore those people and don't feel ashamed. But at this time, no, I have not been diagnosed being autistic on the spectrum, okay? But when people are autistic, they don't think like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, people who know me, I do things repetitively. Like, I do podcasts. That's a repetitive thing. When I do podcasts, like, I talk about certain people. Even though I'm not going to talk about it on this podcast, because it has nothing to do with the issue. That same certain person is fixated on me. In other words, the way we cope with our feelings may not be like you. And you may say, well, why do you keep talking about this person? Why do you have a problem with it? That's just how I cope. I was doing that before they moved here. So why should I stop once they got here? That's just who I am. That person talks about me all the time. I don't call her out her name, but she still talks about me all the time. I don't care. Like, I understand some of the stuff that she says. When I speak her language, you don't. That's why I might not have a problem when she talks to herself. So what? And it don't mean that she always talking to herself. But I know she talks to herself. So what? You know what I'm saying? Whether she's crazy or whether she has autism, I just understand why she does what she does. I don't judge her. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying I don't think that there are certain people I don't make good friends with because I feel like some people use excuses. And that's why she acts the way she does. Like, and instead of telling her, no, don't do this, and set boundaries, you give her her way. And if you give her her way, what are you going to do when you have a daughter that looks like her, that you're supposed to raise, that you got to tell no sometimes? If you can't tell her no, you ain't going to be able to tell your daughter no. You know, she has sex all day. You think I feel like hearing her have sex all day? So I don't want to hear about me and my podcast. Don't nobody want to hear people having sex in the house all day. There's other things to do besides having sex in the house all day. I'll be on a podcast for an hour. It ain't like I give people their peace. It ain't like I'll be on a podcast for 24 hours. I give people their peace after a maximum of an hour and 30 minutes. Okay? She can't give nobody peace. Like, in the past, I say since December, it ain't been an hour where you can actually sit here and say, oh, it's quiet in the house. When is the last time you said that? Because it's never quiet in the house. Because somebody's always having sex. It hasn't, and then of course, if you call them on their shit, they'll say, oh, you're hating, or you didn't. No, I'm not hating. I said, I tell you what, I'm gonna pray that somebody come in this house that's loud and obnoxious in the bedroom, and they just have sex all day, hitting your wall. I'm gonna let them hit your wall, not my wall. I'm gonna let them hit your wall while they're in the middle of having sex and just keep banging your wall for 24 hours a day. Do you feel like hearing that shit? I guarantee you won't get mad after a while. Because you don't respect people's boundaries. You know what I'm saying? And I said, that's why I say, you gonna have your day one day. You gonna have your day one day. I don't know when. I don't know what day, but you gonna get a piece of your own medicine, and I guarantee you can't handle when somebody do you. Like when somebody put a you on you, you ain't gonna be able to handle it. You gonna see how people was getting pissed off all the time at the house. I don't care if you sleep with everybody in the house. Don't nobody want to hear sex 24 hours a day. It's just, that's the way it is. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes people want to just wake up to some peace. You know, just lay there and go to sleep. Lay there. If you don't want to go to sleep, watch TV. Or watch Netflix. You know, I don't care if you watch, I be like this. If my housemates who like to have sex all day, truly I love them to death. I do not hate them. I am not going to make it seem like they're bad people. Yes, I understand they're young. But I'm saying the difference between when you're young and you get older is you learn to respect your neighbors. That's why the word of God, that's why in the Quran, that's why in other doctrines it says to respect your neighbors. You're not respecting your neighbors when you have sex all day. And don't take a break. I don't care if you went to the store for an hour. I promise you, if my housemates did that every day, just for 1 hour, we gonna go somewhere outside the building. I don't care if it's to go outside and smoke. I don't care if it's to go outside and have exercise. If they did that for 1 hour a day, it will be a lot less tension in the house. But they don't give nobody their space. And then I get on a podcast and somebody want to get annoyed by my podcast. I'm like, dude, please don't. Okay? Because I sit here and deal with people having sex 24 hours a day. Okay? And I don't feel like hearing that. But it happens. I'm not hating on somebody who get it a lot. I'm just saying, dude, you don't get annoyed by it. You don't get annoyed by somebody banging on your wall all hours of the night, all hours of the day. You don't get annoyed by that either? Well, yeah. I'm pretty sure the dudes will be like, well, yeah, but I just don't say nothing. Man, fuck that. Don't act like I'm the only person who get annoyed by their asses banging on the wall. This nigga think he doing something. Nigga, don't nobody want to hear that boom, 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 boom on the wall. You know what I'm saying? Pull the bed away from the wall or something. And if you gonna break the bed, then get a stronger bed. But don't nobody want to hear that bang, 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 metal banging on the wall 24 hours a day. And you trying to sleep. Nobody want to hear that. But I love my roommates to death, even though we don't get along. I still love them. And they'll be surprised if I said I still love them. Yeah, I still love them. But I'm saying, part of the reason why you talk about me is because you actually like me and you think you don't like me. No, when you don't like somebody, you wouldn't be talking about me for 6 months. You miss me. Or you want to get to know me about something. But no, you really don't hate me. You just want to uphold something that you feel. And it's okay. It really is. It's okay. So I'm going to say this last thing. And I'm going to put it like this. It's no way in the world that I would have thought that I could accurately describe the African man who's been living in my building. And I saw him for the first time last week. I know he probably had faith that I could do that. But I'm pretty sure if you asked him, it probably didn't surprise him that people think that I'm autistic. Like, you ask him, the dude that has a deep voice, he probably would say, I wasn't surprised because I picked up on it. But other people in the house, they probably never picked up that I might be autistic. So anyway, I'm not autistic, but the jury is still out that I'm on the spectrum. So I'm not going to say that I'm not on the spectrum, but I'm just saying I have answered a lot of questions that make people wonder if I'm on the spectrum. So even an African man probably is skilled enough on how to deal with people who are autistic. That's why he deals with me the way he does. And being autistic does not mean that you're weird. It just means people don't understand you, and there's different type of autistic people, and one of the questions that they ask you is, do you have a problem making friends? That is actually a question that you're asked when you're being evaluated for autism. Do you have a problem making friends? People don't think that that's a question that they would ask autistic people, but it's actually a question that they ask a lot. But it does not mean that because you have a problem making friends that you are autistic. But I'm saying people who are really tested for autism and not you are self-diagnosing yourself as autistic will tell you, yes, that is a question that they ask you. You have to be, for some reason, when you're autistic, they have to teach you what is called social skills. So they have to teach you how to make friends. And they tell you what is inappropriate to ask somebody in the beginning and what's appropriate. And so they try to, one of the things you have to learn how to do is what is called small talk. Because that's how you make friends. You know, most people learn, whether you know how to make friends or not, most people learn how to say hello to everybody. That is like, whether you're a social butterfly or antisocial, you know how to say the word hello in some form. But when you're autistic, you don't know how to do small talk. So you have to go through classes on how to do small talk. But, you know, usually people will say you're weird. I think a lot of people who are autistic, people call them weird. You're just weird. Okay, cool. You know? But anyway, I'm about to get off the live. I like this new platform, and thank you to the people who joined the live. And we will talk about autism next Thursday. That's actually one that I was going to talk about this month. And we'll talk about the struggles of people with autism, people who are independent that's autistic, and how you are tested to be if you are autistic. There's different type of methods. No one method is used. But, you know, we'll talk about how a person is suspected or diagnosed as an autistic individual. Okay? So with that being said, I'm going to say peace and I'm out. Bye-bye, guys.